I am Marie Larson, and I will take you on a journey here at Toronto's first indoor organic sprout farm. We are located in the heart of Toronto, and we've been part of a sprouting business for over 15 years. Part of what we do here at Sprouts is obviously we grow sprouts, different kinds, but we also have a side to the business where we are educating and supporting sprouting at home. So this DVD is going to be for all of you that are not able to come and visit us here right on the site. So we'll take you on a journey with Trefor Randell, who is an expert sprouter. He's been sprouting for over 15 years. And he will teach you all about the hydroponic and earth-grown sprouting in your home environment. So all the best and happy sprouting.
Hi and welcome. My name's Trevor, and I've been involved in the sprouting business for some 17 years now, right in this farm, which you can see at the back of me, called Toronto Sprouts. And here we grow everything that I'm going to explain to you in a small version. And here is the large version. It's assisting this to become this, to give birth to a small version of the bigger version. And this, as you see here, is a sunflower. Now, if this was allowed to grow beyond this, it would actually, this variety itself would grow 4 foot high. So there's an example of what a sprout is, and what you're eating is that 4 foot plant in condensed form. Think about it. So, how much is this going to cost you? Very simply, pennies in the long run. But an investment is always required in something of this nature. So I highly recommend that you come visit us sometime and talk over your needs, and we can help you out. And so for those of you who don't live in the Toronto area or live further and farther afield, here's how you can do it yourself in your own home. What we're going to need is seed, which, as you can see, comes in many shapes and sizes. But what we're going to focus on today is wheatgrass, which is right here. And sunflower. A good source of soil. Now we at Toronto Sprouts use fully certified soil, the only one available here in Ontario. It's a soils mix, and excellent results. A little expensive, but if you can't afford it, then good supply is available from Home Depot. Also going to need items to grow the sprouts in. For the wheatgrass, we want a nice tray with a little bit of depth in, as you can see here. Plastic, they're easily washable, also flexible, and available from Home Depot or any good garden store. Or the small versions, hard wearing, easy to use restaurant trays. Screens, preferably the nylon house screen, which you can get from any good hardware store. They're very heavy duty, and they let in a lot of air, and they're a lot cleaner than cheesecloth, and very easy to clean. And 2 really good thick plastic bags, which I'll show you how to use as we move along. Okay, to make our sprouting simple and enjoyable, we want to make it easy to do. So we don't want to have to weigh out like how much seed do we need, do we have to weigh it out, or the amount of soil. No, we don't. But we do have to have some indication of just what amount is needed. And for that, we have 2 simple utensils that we can use. One is measuring jugs for our soil, and 2 cups measurements for the seed that we're going to use. This one here is basically an 8-ounce cup from a good camping store, tin and hard wearing. This is the next size up, which we actually use specifically for wheatgrass. That's the measurement that you're going to use, so you don't have to weigh it out. You know that a level cup is what you're going to need. Same here with your sunflower seed or pea greens, etc., etc. And also the soil, there's your measurement. 1 heaping jug full for the wheatgrass, and for the smaller trays, a smaller jug. So let's begin. First stage of any sprouting, whether it's either grown on soil or in the jar, both methods which I will teach you, is to actually pre-sprout or soak the seed for a duration of time. Let's look at wheatgrass. We're looking at a soaking period of 6 hours. So you need to plan your day. An example of what's happened here at Toronto Sprouts is we'll soak our seed in the morning so we know that someone's going to be here 6 hours later available to drain it. So basically what happens and why do we soak it? Simply as we are speeding up the natural course of things so that we can have it faster. What it actually does in the water is the water penetrates the protective seal that nature has put on every seed, grain, nut and legume. It's what's known as an enzyme inhibitor, or more simply, it's like wearing a raincoat. It keeps the water off, because once the water penetrates that outer skin, then it activates it. So unless a seed has been touched by water, it will remain stable and ready to use forever. Example is when they opened the pyramids, they discovered a storage of seed, and 2,000 years later, there it is, very intact, and they sprouted. Okay, let's begin with step 1, soaking the seed. Let's look at wheatgrass. Now what we're going to do actually, as I said, we don't need to worry about getting scales and weighing it out. Basically what we're looking at to actually spread in a tray of this size is roughly 8 ounces of dry seed. And this in itself is your 8-ounce cup. 1 level cupful is all you require. To put in a container of either plastic or stainless steel, or preferably glass jar like so. Good rule of thumb, whatever amount of seed that you are soaking, you use 3 to 4 times more water. Now I have a source of water over here, which I'm going to use on tap. If possible, try to use filtered water. If you can't do that, then I make a suggestion that you leave a bucket of household water overnight for the chlorine to evaporate. So there it is, going to remain for a period of 6 to 8 hours, depending on what seed. We're looking at wheatgrass here, as I said. So this is roughly 6 to 8 hours. What I suggest also is you get yourself a screen, cut to size, about 6 by 6, which you place over the top like so. Those 2 strong elastic bands, very vital here. Over the screen, firmly under that lip, and pull it drum tight. So there it's going to remain for 6 hours. You don't have to worry about it, or by all means, if you want to talk to it, confess, whatever, that's where it's going to be for 6 hours. You don't have to do anything with it. So just make sure you come back within 6 to 8 hours. Don't go any longer, because what happens, the seed will start leaching its minerals and vital nutrients, and also it'll become waterlogged and drown. So 6 hours later you come back, it's time for the next stage. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to drain it like so. And then, with that water source again, whether it's the house tap, in in the kitchen sink, wherever, you're going to actually rinse the seed. Right? So basically you want to flush it completely until the water runs clean again. You'll notice, especially when you do the likes of alfalfa, the soap water will actually be even black. That is the elements of the coating I was explaining earlier on, which you don't really want in your body. So flush that right out, and it'll take, with the likes of alfalfa, several minutes, but with the likes of wheatgrass, it's finished within 60 seconds. Two more very valuable items to have, very efficient as well, especially in regards to if you're restricted by space, if you're sharing or you're in a commune or something and you don't have that much space. This is the perfect little area. Or basically one Rubbermaid like so, and a dish drainer which sits in there, and I'll show you the first benefit of it. Like I said, we have drained the seed. So basically we want this to drain even more so overnight, because as you can see there's still water there. So basically we're going to place it in the drainer at an angle of 45 degrees. Let me show you, elevate this so I give you an idea. So basically it sits like so, and then that'll drain overnight, so by the time in the morning this seed will actually be dry. And there's nothing worse than trying to plant with wet seed. So the drier the better, so don't be alarmed if there's no such thing as too dry. You want it dry, as you'll learn. But also remember to have that angle of drainage and allow a space between the seed and the upper, so the air can get in and up to the back of the seed. And if you're planting more than one variety, you can get a number of jars in here quite effectively. And as I'll explain in the jar method later on, you can grow many varieties all in this little space. So there we have it. We've begun the vital process of actually transforming this dry seed into its first stages of life. From the dry seed to the wet to actually what's known as the pre-sprouting stage. Here's an example of a seed that actually has been drained for that period of time, left overnight, so it is actually dry. And as you can see, it has actually started to pre-sprout and the tail has appeared. Even at this stage, you can actually eat the seed. It's very nourishing for you. Also at this stage you can also use it to make a seam bread, etc., manna bread, and also other interesting things. So it's the next day, you sowed your seed the day prior to it, and come next morning it's time to plant. What we need is our tray, which I showed you earlier on. We're looking at this big guy here for the wheatgrass. We need our soil, which we've measured out in our jug, as I explained. Nice heaping jug full. There it is, the amount of soil that you're going to require. So what we're going to do now is actually lay the soil out. We want a nice even playing field. We don't want hills and dales, we want it as flat as possible. Simply using this wonderful tool that we've got two of, just gently spread it as like so. You're not actually pressing it down. You don't want to press the soil down, so it's a very light feather touch to spread it. But you want it evenly, and make sure that it's not too high on the edges there. Take your time, enjoy yourself, get the feel of the soil. Now we want our seed, and we want the amount of seed in the 12 ounce actually. 8 ounces of seed is going to give you 12 ounces of sprouted seed. So how are we going to plant the seed? Well, we certainly don't have to do this. Well, you can if you want to, but a quick way is, as I will show you. One is that you don't want to plop it all in the middle and try and spread it, or have it at one end and try and bring it to the other end. It's simply an art of shaking the seed very gently, nice little angle, get a nice even coating. The art of spreading the seed is to get a uniform layer of seed also, so beware of what's known as clumping up of several layers. You don't want that happening because you get what's known as hot spots. So there we have it, and that's not going to happen overnight. It took me 17 years to develop this skill. There you go. So there we have the seed ready for the next stage. Now from here we're just going to actually lightly wet the seed, like so. Let me show you that spray unit I was showing you earlier on. Let's just show you how efficient it is. It's a simple pump action. Like I said, there's your source of water for the whole duration of the plant. And it's a pump action, and you're not actually drowning it, you're just adding some moisture to it. Because during the next step it's actually going to create its own water system because of the heat it gives off with condensation. So whatever amount of trays that you plant, you're going to stack them on top of one another. We're looking at one here, so you're also going to need, if you're doing one tray, you're going to need 2 trays. If you're doing 6, you're going to need 7. Which you actually place on top like so. And gently, just gently press it down. And then on top of that, a brick or any heavy object, just to add a little bit of pressure. Why do we do that? Simply because in a natural environment, the seed will be cast and then they would till the soil over it so it's below the surface. What we're doing is creating a false surface. It also helps the seed to settle and for the root to actually hook into the soil and for the shoot to find its direction, which is up towards the light. And there it's going to remain for the next 24 to 48 hours, depending on the time of year. Now understand that you're growing indoors, and even though you're growing indoors, these seeds know what time of year it is. So when it's winter, the actual growth rate is going to slow down. So you're going to have to adjust it in regards to the seasons. Because like I said, though it's indoors, it knows what's going on there through the energetics of the planet. So in regards to the seasons, in winter, it's going to be, in this situation, for anything up to 48 hours. Come summer, even down to 24. But you'll learn as you go, because one thing it does, it teaches you if you're open to it. So observe even from week to week, even from month to month, and also to what's going on in your own environment. So if you can create a nice harmonious environment, i.e. play the right music, it's scientifically proven that they love classical, they don't like hard rock. Believe it or not, these little things called seeds have intelligence. They know what they are. They're susceptible to the energetics. They're affected by the planets, the sun, the moon, and whoever's looking after them. So try to be nice. Try to be happy. Be happy. Enjoy what you're doing. If you're having a bad day, then the plants ain't going to be too happy about that. For example, a wonderful book I highly recommend is The Secret Life of Plants. Read that and your life will never be the same again. You'll never look at the plant the same way again. You'll have a great appreciation of it. Just as you'll have a great appreciation of actually growing something in your own home and watching it grow and knowing that you're part of that growth. And without you, that cannot grow. There is a relationship happening. So here we are, 24 or 48 hours, depending on the season, what's known as to unstack. Whether it's 6 or 1, we need to take this off because, especially in the summer, you find even the wheatgrass has started growing up the sides. So that's quite normal. And what you will be revealed is basically the start of the actual sprout growing, which will actually be flat and yellow. This has actually been under the light a bit. So from here you want to put it under a good light source, preferably what's known as grow lamps. They come in sizes 4 foot to 8 foot, or there's what's known as a true light, or even if you cannot afford that sort of lighting mechanism, even a table lamp with a spectrum bulb in, and they're available from places like Earth Roots, etc., etc. The actual plant grow lamps, fluorescent, you can actually buy from Home Depot for $6. And if you do have it on a rack system, you want the actual source of light to be 14 inches above the actual shelf that the wheatgrass is sitting on. And once under the light source, it's going to be there for anything from 4 to 6 days, depending once again on the season. And you're going to be watering it at least once, even twice a day if necessary. But you'll get a feel for that as you get to know and have that relationship I was telling you about, from being sensitive to whether it does need watering, because one of the joys of actually watching this grow is even within your own house, it forms dew on it, and there's nothing more beautiful than wake up in the morning and seeing green grass growing in your house with dew on it. The other thing that you also want to get, if you're able to grow your own rack system, is a timer on the lights, because basically these guys need to sleep just like we do. So basically what you're also looking at, the amount of light that you want to give these guys is 16 hours, which is equivalent of 8 hours sunlight. So you can have it coming on at 6 a.m. in the morning and going off at 11 o'clock at night. And one of the joys I found when I was growing in my own home is there's nothing like coming down on a cold winter's morning and seeing the kitchen light and this beautiful green growth. And here we have 4 stages of the growth process from start to finish of the wheatgrass. From planting the seed to the next stage of actually bringing it out into the light, a few days growth, and then to a stage where you're considering harvesting. Now there's certain watering techniques that you will get to know, and I'll briefly explain them. You can actually what's known as top water, especially in this stage, because the water is going to actually seep down anyway. And then once you get into the larger stage, you develop a technique of either top watering, what's known as edging, and actually underwatering. It's actually putting the water into the base of the tray. The other thing it likes, in particularly wheatgrass, likes cool temperatures. And it also needs to be stimulated just like we do. So every now and then you can just feel it, enjoy it. A fan would help, but not too directly, because it likes that motion, and also like the wind in the fields. So when do we actually enjoy the fruits of our labor? You're looking at, on average, from the moment you soak your seed to the time of harvest, 10 days. And now it's harvest time to reap the rewards of your labor. So how do we actually remove our grass from the soil base? Quite simply, with a serrated edge knife. How do we do that? Simply, but remember where your fingers are. Basically, you're cutting ½ inch above the soil base. So if there is any activity of mold, which in many cases the mold that we will see is a natural action between organic and inorganic material that is not harmful to you. So you're above that. So simply a good handful, and we cut like so. And there we have it. This gives you the ability to cut off any roots if you happen to pull them out, and even trim it if you're that way inclined. And from here into your juicer, into your container, or into your mouth. One of the questions I'm often asked is, can I recommend a good juicer, especially when it comes to dealing with wheatgrass juice? I'm a simple man, and for you simple folk, I highly recommend the best juicer on the planet, the mouth. There it is. Wheatgrass put in the best juicer of all, chewed until it loses its flavor, just like you were chewing gum. You spit the pulp out and dispose of it appropriately. Thousandfold benefits. Yes, you may have to get over the vanity of the green mouth, lips and tongue, but I can assure you it's a whole new experience that you will enjoy. And look at the money you save. So we've planted wheatgrass, and that's the largest sprout that you can possibly grow in regards to height and the amount that you're putting in a tray. Let me just show you how easy it is to grow sunflower. Once again, this time on a smaller tray, the reliable restaurant tray, nice and solid. Our soil, this time a smaller amount, as you can see, for a smaller area. As I said earlier, we want a nice level surface, so you can actually use this as your point of reference for leveling, running your fingertips like so. And don't forget, no pressing down. You don't want the soil compressed, because when you add the seeds, you want them actually to sit in like a cushion effect. Now, for those of you who have smaller hands, I can show you another method that you might find just as easy, or if you're unsure about your level. Simply to get yourself a large stick like so that has a nice flat edge, which you can actually run along here. So you can roughly spread it out, or spread it to one end, and this time you can actually, like so. Personally, I prefer to use my hand, but then I've been blessed with a rather large one. So here we have the pre-sprouted sunflower seed. Especially in summer, the actual sprout itself will be quite long and very prominent. We want our measuring jar. This time we're using 8 ounces of soaked seed in this 8-ounce cup level, like so. And it's just a very slight tilt and an easy shake back and forth. For those of you who are into meditation, this is a wonderful form of actual what's known as standing meditation. It's very peaceful and pleasant to do. We've spread the seed, time to water. Remember, not too much water. You don't want to drown it. You're just basically adding some moisture to the soil. So it's a little heavy on the edges, by all means, because that tends to dry out much quicker. And the covering tray. Just turn like so. And a weight. Either a brick or a telephone book or just a heavy object, just to allow the seeds to anchor as I was explaining. And they will sit for a period of time of 24 to 48 hours depending on season. Here's 3 stages of growth in the sprouting of sunflower. This is just actually still under pressure, as I showed you. This would be what's actually happening under that top lid. It's the shoot is breaking out, and the root also from one end to the other. The shoot is heading upwards, and the root is going down. If you didn't have that pressure, it would actually sit on the surface and cause a lot of problems. So in that stage, it's anchoring itself and sorting itself out from upside to down, depending on where the root is in relationship to how the seed's laying on the soil. At this stage, it's unstacked just like the wheatgrass and put under a light source. So this is about a day and a half from this stage, with, as you can see, the seed holes still attached in places to the sprout. One thing that you don't want at the end of the growth is these still attached. So during the process of being under lights, you're going to water the sunflower once or twice a day depending on circumstances. You will know. And after actually watering it, 20 minutes later you want to come back and actually just lightly brush the tops of the sprouts, and this helps release these little holes. The other thing also, you can actually, if you've got time, pick them off. You can do the old adage, he or she loves me, she loves me not. A beautiful form of meditation. You can do it while you're watching TV or just whatever. So in the process of that, from this growth to the actual final product, you should have a clean sprout. This has still got just a couple more days growth yet, and as you can see, most of the holes have been removed. And you can pick below the surface to the shorter ones. And like I said, stimulus helps them grow even better. So just that light waving of the hand across the tops helps in the growth process, and also brings about a better connection with you, because actually you're getting a charge off these, and these are getting a charge off of you. The beauty of actually growing the finer sprouts like alfalfa, clover, pea greens, sunflower, is you can actually eat them as you require them once they're at that stage of maturity, which is from day 8 to 10. Anything longer, you will get what's known as a double leafing, which once that happens, the taste becomes bitter. So, and that's what you call fresh, from cutting it to consuming it. Here we have just a small example of the wide variety of seeds available that you can actually sprout in your own home. This is a very popular sunflower. Now, sunflower seeds come in thousands of varieties, shapes and sizes. This variety actually is known as a black oil. It's very small, very delicate. We're more familiar with the large, what I call the chunky fries version, which is the black and white striped. Here we have, for those who like variety, a really good bean combination of green peas, lentils, and garbanzo beans, very high in protein. And that in itself is only like several days of sprouting before you can actually consume it. Here's the familiar green pea, or the black pea, which is a great variety and very, very tasty. Here we have the very popular wheatgrass. Here we have familiar mung bean seed, very popular in the Asian market. And we have combination seeds. This is what's known as a spicy lentil crunch, for those who like a little bit of pizzazz with their taste. Comes from various sources. Here we have garlic, and a very popular Indian spice fenugreek. And all these you can actually sprout at home. Simply, this is the way nature intended. Also, the added value is not only the elements within the seed are you obtaining as you consume it, but whatever nutrients are in the soil. So we've just grown on soil. Let's try the hydroponic method, which uses one ingredient only, basically the element of water. What are we going to need for this process? Simply a good Rubbermaid container like so. This is an ideal size dish strainer, which fits in there nice and comfortable. And you're going to need jars of various sizes depending on what you're actually sprouting. And this is where it all takes place, right here in this, from start to finish. No soil, just simply water. So the first step is soaking the seed, similar to the soil method as I showed you, in a jar, soaked for a certain period of time depending on the seed that you are using, and drained overnight. Remember that prior rinse before leaving it overnight to clear all that residue out, especially the likes of alfalfa and clover, etc., etc. And it remains draining overnight to the next morning. And then begins the growth process of hydroponics using the element of water only, which is twice a day, literally rinsing it morning and night and draining in between. And that's where it all takes place within here, this growth factor. Remember that 45-degree angle, so that there's always a space between the seed and the top of the lid here. So air is available to get into the back here. If it should fall completely, you'll have a possible mold reaction in here because of the amount of heat that's actually generated as these seeds are activated in its process. So remember, always to have that angle, check it out, make sure it hasn't slipped forward, and things should evolve quite nicely. So here we have two examples of jars and also the sprouts that you can grow in them. Here we have the well-known alfalfa, and this is about 5 days growth. Now, about the 4th day, a small amount of seed goes a long way, so you get a large amount from a little amount of seed. Be aware of that. The other thing to be aware of is that when it gets to this stage, it has sort of interlocked and can cause problems with mold from the heat generated within that clump. So if it gets too large for the container, you find that it's outgrowing the size of the jar. This is why I recommend that when you're doing the likes of alfalfa, red clover, etc., a really big jar is ideal, something of this nature where there's a lot more room than the actual sprout growth. But if it happens to outgrow its size, you can split it into another jar, or else pull it out onto and what's known as just lightly fluff it up, pull it apart very lightly and separate it, and then continue the growth factor. Then towards the end of its growth cycle, which is likes of alfalfa here, 6 days, you want to do what's called greening up. It doesn't require, the beauty of hydroponics is most of what you are sprouting does not require a light source. But for the likes of the delicate ones, you want to present it in a much more acceptable manner. You will what's known as green it up, so you can actually put it for a couple of days in a light source, even the kitchen light, but not in direct sunlight. So in the last 2 days of actually growing in here, there would be a light source coming in on it, and therefore you would get the top leaves greening up as you can see here. Like I said, let's go to the steps once again. Soaking, washing after the period of soak time, leaving overnight to drain, and then every morning and then every evening washing it out and leaving it in between to drain, as I explained. And here's an example of very fast sprouting seed. This is the mixed beans, which is green peas, lentils, garbanzos, and this is just 3 days. And there we have it, the finished product. And this is what you call fresh. One of the biggest questions that I'm asked is why sprout? And I simply say, well, hopefully you want the best fuel for your body, and this is what sprouts are. It's maximum potent fuel for this incredible body that we are walking around this earth on. So the other factor is to be able to consume a minimal amount of this fuel food that gives us maximum energy output and feeling good, able to drive us from one meal to the next meal or even further beyond meals, so that we find that we're not eating as much of the other stuff known as junk food and commercial food. We're eating real food that our body can resonate with, and it's put here for a reason. And there are many health benefits from consuming food directly as you can see that I've explained in the sprouting process, for its minerals and nutrients, and its protein and its calcium content, and also the valuable chemical compositions that allows the body to create its own needs as well.